Hey everybody, it's Brooke with the Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. We have been busy today. You probably see all the dirty dishes. Well, that's not all of them. The dishwasher is slap full. But we've got some really delicious things coming your way. So if you follow us, make sure that you are signed up for our VIP email list over at thebutteredhome.com. We share lots of really good recipes via email. I'm talking about the email list. My cameraman has had a busy afternoon, so we're going to give him a pass. But when we're done, head over to thebutteredhome.com and sign up for our VIP email list so that you can be notified when we drop new recipes. Our VIP email list gets them first. And I've done 3 this weekend that are delicious. In fact, we're going to be eating one of them for supper whenever I get done. Today is day 6. I had to think again. I got so many numbers running around in my head. I can't keep up with everything. As usual, Big D is moderating comments and working my cameras for me tonight. So if y'all have any questions, ask them. If we can't get to them during the live, we'll certainly answer you in the comments after we're done. All right, so let's see how Willie and Waylon are doing and we'll discard and feed. So let's take our lids off. And I have lots of nice bubble action going on. No hooch. No hooch today for me. So those of you who didn't have any hooch yesterday, or any hooch the day before, I'd love to know how you look today. So we look good here. We got lots of good bubble action going on, and Willie and Waylon both smell pleasant. They don't smell great. They don't smell like yeast, but they don't smell just like flour and water either. They smell like something is going on, which is what you're looking for. So let me get my handy discard bowl out. And again, we use a zip top bag with the zipper rolled down so we won't make a huge mess. And no, never fear, I bought these at the Dollar Tree, so they were $1 for like 25 of them, and I just really hope we won't need that many. All right, so we're going to pour off half of Willie first, and he's a little thicker today, so I might have to help him along. So he's thicker because we don't have near as much hooch action going on, which is a good thing. Let me get my spatula and let me get a little bit more of him. All right, wipe my spatula off, and then I'm going to scrape down that lid and that side. So we discarded about half of him, and then we're going to discard half of Waylon. Let's see if he pours, how he pours. That's a good test to kind of see where you are too. Less hooch means it's less watery and won't pour off as easy. So they're both a little thick. They're not nearly as thick as they were last night when we put them together, which means that they have eaten and eaten well, eaten that flour. Okay, so I am going to put that top up just like that and zip it up, leave a little space right here, push out some of the air, zip it on up out of the way and throw it in the trash. During the making of the starter, we always discard and throw away. We don't reuse our discard at this point. Okay, so now let's feed them. I have my unbleached all-purpose flour, and I'm going to give them a scoop each of that, about what we've given them every night. And let me get my water going. Should have done that already. And again, I'm using water from my tap because our water is good. Now, if your water is hard or kind of stinky, You may want to use purified or distilled water in your starter, but our water is pretty fantastic here where I live in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to get our tepid water going, and I'm just going to fill up my cup. Then we'll come pour a little in Willie, just a splash, and we'll give him a good stir. And when we're stirring him with the new water and the new flour, we're also kind of mixing that in with the existing starter as best we can, combining it all very well. Now I look a little sticky, so I'm going to put just a splash more. And I think on night 3 or night 4 I showed you guys, if you add too much water by mistake, don't worry about it. Just add a little bit more flour and you'll be good to go. All right, let's see what his consistency looks like. Good and gloppy. Not drippy, gloppy. He comes right off that spoon, kind of stretchy, kind of springy, but not too thick. So it has enough water in there to constitute that flour to allow for proper feeding. So now let's feed Waylon. I mean water Waylon. Give that a good mix, and we're also making sure that we don't have any dry spots. So we're incorporating the new flour and the water into the existing starter in the jar and making sure we don't have any dry spots. All right, I think he needs just a tad more. So they need about the same amount tonight. And something, y'all, that I'm not good at showing, but whenever we get done, I usually clean my spatula off and then come in and scrape the sides down really good so that they stay fairly clean. But truthfully, I'll probably change the jars out in a couple more days. All right, he's good. He's gloppy, little springy, but not too wet, which is what we're looking for. All right, so let me put Waylon's lid back on, half a turn. Willie's half a turn, and then we'll set them over here and we'll nestle them away to go to sleep. All right, so one thing we talked about why we discard, and one of the things that I think I forgot to mention was, I know that I said, you know, you don't want to end up having a lot of starter in the beginning because it's just kind of throwing away flour and water. And if it continues to double every time you feed it, then pretty soon you're going to have to feed it an enormous amount of flour, and that can get kind of expensive. And most people only have room for kind of a relatively small jar. So you don't want to really make a lot of starter that you don't have room for or that you can't cook with. So that's another reason why we only discard and feed just a little bit, because you can have a starter with just a little bit and feed it and get the amount that you need once you have a healthy starter. So here's what we're looking for. We're on day 6, so hopefully we're in the home stretch. And I think I talked to you last night about marking your jar. At this point, I would get a dry erase marker and just mark about where you are. And if you don't have a dry erase marker, you can use a rubber band. And one of the things that we're going to be looking for is for this starter to double, at least double. Sometimes they'll do more, depending on how active they are. So One of the first signs that you'll see is a clear indication of doubling, and depending on the climate in your house or your kitchen and the climate outside, it could take anywhere from 4 to 8 to 12 hours. Most in optimal conditions above 68 degrees when they're actively fermented and good to use, they will double in about a 4 to 6 hour period if the conditions are favorable, if it's over 68 degrees wherever they are. So the warmer, the better. If you tend to have a cool house or a cool kitchen, or if you're putting it on a countertop that's like quartz or something like that and it's a really cold surface, one idea is to take a hand towel and just set it on there. That way you're not transferring cool air or cool temperature from your cooler counter here. You can also proof it in the microwave, but just keep an eye on it, because if it does get a little bit warmer than you'd expect in your house, then it's also going to get warmer in your microwave. And also, if there's anybody else in your house, make sure that they know that your Willie or your Waylon is in the microwave and they don't just turn it on with them in there. I have seen in some of the groups that I'm in where some people have actually baked their starter because they are proofing their starter in the oven with the oven light on, and somebody has preheated the oven. Yes, I've seen it, and that's a good way to kill it. So make sure. Do we have any questions tonight? Okay, moving right along. One of the other signs that you'll be looking for is a very pleasant smell. And that smell is going to be one that smells like yeast or yeast rolls, or almost like a baked bread type smell. It's not sweet, but if you've ever smelled like yeast that's proofed or bread that's proofed, it has a very distinct perfume, and that's what I liken it to, because it's pleasant, it's sweet, it's very distinct. It doesn't smell at all like what we've been smelling the last few days, like the dog's breath or the kind of alcohol-y smell. You won't get that. In fact, whenever we get these guys fermented, I'm gonna go live and I'm gonna show you how to tell if your starter's hungry, how to tell if you're ready to bake, and some quick tips on that, and give you some good resources on some recipes if you didn't want to do the fully proofed fermented bread. And I'm doing a fermented loaf today with Phyllis, and we're just waiting to go in the oven. So she's been resting under a damp towel for about an hour. So I'll preheat my oven and preheat my Dutch oven before I pop her in there. But she has proofed for she proofed in a bowl almost 12 hours. So we should have a really good kind of strong sourdough taste in her. And I filled her with some herbs and some cheese. Big D is excited. So I'll try to snap a picture after I bake her so that you all can see what she looks like. And we've just really invested a whole day. Like, I got up early this morning, I came out and I mixed it up, and I did some stretch and folds and left her alone until almost 6 o'clock. And then I put her together and put her back in another oiled bowl to kind of sit and rest until we're ready to bake. So it doesn't have to be a 2-day process. I'm sure that I probably could have gotten a more distinct sourdough flavor had I let her proof overnight and all day today. But that's the beautiful thing about this, is you can decide how long you want them to proof, and just know that it only will really affect the flavor of your bread if you do it. So we're not going to take up any more of your time tonight, but I am hoping that you and I both will start to see some significant growth in the next few days. I'll be honest with you, when I was at the 5 to 7 to 8 day phase, whenever I mixed up Phyllis, she just kind of just kind of sat there, kind of like Willie and Waylon are doing, and maybe yours are doing. They just have a few bubbles, and I can remember thinking, how am I going to know? And when I walked in here, and it was almost filled the jar, and I literally fed it and had this much, and then by the next morning when I came out here and looked, the jar was almost this full. That's how much she rose. And there were bubbles throughout. Bubbles all in the top. When I dipped my spoon in her, the bubbles just separated and it strung away from itself like almost like bread dough, a really wet bread dough. It was beautiful and exciting, and I can't wait for you all to experience that as well. So again, we got some really good recipes coming your way. Make sure that you are signed up for our VIP email list so that you can get them first, because all of our people on that list get them first. And we do some really good meal prepping, meal planning ideas every weekend for the upcoming week. As always, Big D and I sure thank y'all for being with us and watching. We got hopefully just a few more nights left. But we'll stick with it, and we'll see where we are tomorrow night, and then I'll tell you about the plan for Tuesday, because we may feed a little earlier on Tuesday night because I have some prior commitments. But as always, from Big D and I and all of us here at the Buttered Home, we sure love y'all, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night at 7. Bye.